Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, could Arizona football possibly go bowling? This is going to be a big week for that determination. We're going to talk that, some Arizona basketball as well, and some Arizona women's basketball. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's get it. I can't believe we're going to talk about this, but being that we do talk about surprises here from time to time. One thing that we do need to get into is Arizona football, and what is the possibility of Arizona possibly going bowling? Bowling, I say. All right, now there's a lot to unpack here. Arizona right now is at 4-6 on the season. If Arizona wins out, it most likely would go bowling. So let's talk about what needs to happen here. You got Washington State coming up right now. Washington State is a team that Arizona has how do I put this exactly? A real chance of going bowling, but there is some very intriguing parts to these games. Washington State first. Let's talk about the Cougars, the Cougs. That's where Jayden de Laura was last year. As so many of us know, that Jayden de Laura was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. If you watched Arizona last year, you know that Jayden de Laura was a big reason why. Arizona is certainly happy that they have Jayden de Laura now as opposed to having to play against him. And Washington State, in all fairness, is probably okay with Cameron Ward. Now, I would much, much prefer to have Jayden de Laura. I think that especially when you don't have Arizona does have a ton of talent. But when I think there's a next level dynamic factor with him that there's a little bit of a dynamic factor with him that you don't really probably have with Cameron Ward, but Cameron Ward's probably not going to also turn the ball over maybe at the frequency that Jayden de Laura is. But you know what? Who cares? Jayden de Laura is winning games, and that, quite frankly, is all that matters. Now, with Washington State, they're in much the same situation. Washington State is kind of a tricky, an interesting situation here because they shouldn't be as good as they are, but they're generally pretty good. I mean, you look throughout the years, whether that was Mike Price, whether that was Mike Riley. Heck, you had the 1 year after Mike Price where I can't even remember his name. There's been a lot of success right there. But it's also not like it's an underwhelming, it's an overwhelming group of guys though either. Arizona can win this game. It's a 3.5 point spread. I would take Arizona money line on this, but I could see it going either way. Now, there's some real keys to Arizona winning this game. Some real keys. The first and foremost, though, is Arizona's got to continue to put up points. We're going to get to the defense in a second, but the one thing about Arizona is they don't. And again, I hate saying this, but again, defensively, it's not a great team. So that means that you're going to have to score a bunch offensively. And Jayden de Laura and crew have certainly shown that they're capable of doing that. You watch, and again, we've talked about those three receivers, and it seems like every game somebody steps up in a different manner. One game, Jacob Cowing just steps up and has a huge game. Then you have a game where you've got you got T-Mac putting up 150 yards and a couple touchdowns. Then you'll get a Dorian Singer in there, and then you'll get our guy Tanner McLachlan in there as well. But the defense has struggled, and there's certainly some reasons to be pessimistic. But I'm going to stick with the optimistic parts right here. The first thing is with Arizona, you're playing younger guys now. And I love seeing Arizona play the younger guys because, quite frankly, they should be playing the younger guys. The younger guys, again, there's certain guys you're not going to take out of the lineup. You're not going to take Hunter Echols out of the lineup. Christian Roland Wallace, you're not going to take out of the lineup. The other guys are kind of, you can play some of them. You can play not some of them. I don't think that it's really going to matter much to the overall input. So then you look at the defensive line right there with Kungaika, with Uiagalelei, with Deuce Davis, with Deuce Lane. That's a nice little quartet right there. But and then you look at the linebacker as well. With the linebacking unit, you've got a guy in Jacob Manu who has shown that he is an absolute star. He's going to be a star, and I don't think that I'm really breaking any news right there. He is absolutely fantastic. You got to get a linebacker next to him. Can that be Leviticus Sua? It might be able to be him because, again, a 4-star kid out of Modern Day. You like kids like that. I think there's certainly that potential right there for him. And he could line up and he could play very quickly. And I think that's part of the Jed Fish talking point is that you come in here and that you can play and you can play early. And I think that's something that's going to always to a lot of different kids out there. I don't think that I'm really breaking any news right there. But this is it's still not a finished product by any means. If I had to guess, I would imagine that this team will probably go 1-1, which would be 5 wins. But I could see Arizona getting to 6. I'll put it to you like this. I would be more surprised if Arizona went 0-2 than if they went 2-0. So take that for what it's worth right there. Now, regarding Arizona State, because we talked about Washington State, that's a winnable game. Arizona State is in the dumpster right now. Arizona State is in the dumpster, and I don't think they're going to be getting out. Now, again, you're always going to be motivated against Arizona, but this is a game, and I can't believe I'm saying this, this is a game that the Cats should win. But when it comes to this squad, though, Arizona State, you look at it offensively, Emory Jones sucks. Your running game is pretty good. Valadez is good. Ngata is good. I like those guys, but the passing game is awful and the offensive line is terrible. The defense isn't bad at positions, but again, they're missing a lot of guys. I'd love to see the Markham twins come to the U of A. But we'll see how that works out. But this is a game, though, that I think Arizona should win. I said before the year, and I stick by this, I think that Arizona has better talent than ASU. And again, not at certain positions, but pretty much across the board, I think that they have better talent. And that's something that I don't think ASU is ever going to really, well, they're not going to. They don't have the talent this year. So I think Arizona can very well get to a bowl game. And think about it this way. If you could get to a bowl game at this stage, that is a massive, massive improvement for where Arizona was just 2 years ago. Then you've got some other games in play. But if you were to make a bowl game, that makes your recruiting so much easier. And I can't really explain that one. Now, we're going to get to some basketball here in a second, but I ask you out there, does Arizona have the capability of that to make a bowl game? Again, I think they do. Could I be wrong? Okay, now let's talk a little bit of Arizona men's basketball as well. Now, when it comes to Arizona basketball, I think the I think the one thing about it is that we got the Maui Invitational here now, and I think that this is going to be an awesome test. Now, again, Arizona's got Utah Tech coming up, but I do think that Arizona should be able to win this game by a big margin. And then you get to Hawaii. When you get to Hawaii, that's where it gets fascinating. That's where it gets fascinating because you've got a team in Arkansas, which is very, very good. A lot of people don't like the Muss Bus. I am a big fan of Eric Musselman. And I think what's exciting about what they're going to do is you're going to see them get up and down the court and make plays. Everybody knows that's what they're going to do. It's an exciting brand of basketball to watch. And then you've got some other teams in there as well. You don't have a lot of dregs, though. You've got a lot of teams that you should be able to beat, but you've also got some teams that you could certainly lose to. Now, Arizona hasn't played a murderer's row. I don't think that I'm really breaking any news right there, but I think that they've looked good. I think they've done what they needed to accomplish in the out-of-conference, outside of the turnovers and the dumb fouls. Stop doing that. The turnovers and the bad fouls are just they're inexcusable. And that can't really happen. But so we're kind of at the stage though now where, and I've said this before, and I don't really sway too far from this, but I've said this from the beginning that I think that Arizona is going to have some games where they should probably look better than they do. But almost all of those games, it's going to be because you're up 30 points. And again, I can't really judge people the same when you're playing games, when you're playing games, and it's not that you're struggling per se. It's that you were up 30 and you lost focus. That's where I think that Arizona is kind of in a unique spot there, right there. One thing, though, that I do watch, though, and I want to see is how Arizona does do against the pressure. How Arizona does do against the pressure, I think, is going to be a big part of where the Wildcats are going to be. Because I like Kirk Kriisa, but what I do worry about with Kirk Kriisa, I do worry about how he is going to how he's going to hold up against under pressure. And it's not so much pressure, it's physical pressure. When you've watched Kerr in the past, the times that he's had some issues, he's had some issues is when going against physical guys. When you go against physical guys, it's different. It's just different. There's no other way around it. It's not just about going against quick guys. It's about going against physical guys, and he's had problems with that in the past, defensively and offensively. Is that going to change? We'll find out. Now, first, though, I want to tell you about Nugenix. All right, here's the deal. As you get older, your body changes, and maybe you get a little bit of a dad bod and feeling a little less of your old self. You don't have time to work out, but you wanted the energy and body you once had. You discovered Nugenix, and you felt revived. Nugenix, all of these sponsors are places that you have almost all heard from before, and you've heard from them before because they work, and word of mouth spreads. Word of mouth is the best way to get stuff going out there. Now, here's the deal with Nugenix. Nugenix Total T contains man-boosting key ingredients like testofen. It has been validated in 5 clinical studies shown to boost testosterone levels in men because Nugenix Total T boosts free testosterone that the aging process robs. You'll feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive and more passion too. Your partner will also notice the benefits. Okay, now to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, when you text or college to 231-231, Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back in shape, absolutely free. Again, text college to 231-231. Again, text college to 231-231. And testing enrolls you into recurring automated text messages, texting that is, content not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply. Get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text college at 231-231. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here, and we'll be right back. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we're going to be jumping into the BetOnline segment here. All right, BetOnline is the number one sports book out there, as all of you know already. It is it's because it's easy to use and it's a lot of fun. So again, we'll get to that in a second. But you might ask me, Mike, what would you bet on BetOnline if I wanted to watch the Arizona Wildcats and I wanted to see how things are going to play out? Glad you asked that, because I'm here to help. I would bet Arizona to win the Maui Invitational. I don't know exactly what the odds are, but I would bet Arizona to win the Maui Invitational. I think they're going to be very, very good. Now, I also think that Arizona, well, I told you before the year that I liked Arizona. I loved Arizona in the over 2.5. I like Arizona. I'm going to say they're going to win their next two games. Now, again, I could be totally wrong on that, but I'm going to say that I think Arizona wins their next two games, and we go bowling. I said it again, we go bowling right there. Now, so that means that when Arizona plays Washington State, when they play ASU, you got to look at it and you got to go, all right, well, I'm back in the A. I'm back in Mike Luke. Take those right there. But as far as BetOnline goes, BetOnline Sportsbook is the number one sportsbook app. You can find all the latest odds, news, scores, you name it, they've got it. From in-game betting to pre to you name it, props, they've got it. BetOnline Sportsbook. Check it out. We'll be right back with you. You're listening to Locked On Wildcats. All right. Now, thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike. One thing I wanted to do was make fun of ASU a little bit, because look at Arizona. Over the years, Arizona's been beat up a lot for bad football, for, NCAA stuff with Sean Miller. But Arizona athletics is back. Jed Fish has this program headed in a meteoric direction. And on top of that, just as importantly, perhaps more importantly, well, right there, depends on how you look at it. As far as basketball goes, Arizona is right where it wants to be going forward. That you've got Tommy Lloyd in the house, a guy who I think it's fair to say knows what he's doing. You talk about an A-plus hire. Good job there, Dave Heapy. And then you look at what's going on over at ASU. You've got Bobby Hurley, who, let's be honest here, is kind of meh at best, and I think he's going downhill. You're probably going to be looking for a new coach there. Then you've got at ASU football where you're clearly looking for a new coach. I don't know who that new coach is going to be. It's going to be fascinating to find out who it is. But either way, the man making that hire, Ray Anderson. Ray Anderson's not good at making hires. We've seen this. We've seen this with Bobby Hurley. We saw this with Herm Edwards. And we saw him again when he was just kind of looked the other way at things. So again, not really big on that one. But Arizona, though, much better space. Or you got a top 10 basketball program. If Arizona were to enter the top 25 next year, it wouldn't surprise anybody, and it certainly shouldn't. I think Arizona's probably going to be good for 7 wins next year, 7-8 wins. They are in that type of a situation. So again, this is a really good time to be an Arizona basketball fan, a great time to be an Arizona basketball fan, a great time to be an Arizona football fan, and even better than normal, a very good time to to laugh at what's going on before. But that's kind of where we are at this point. All right. Now, again, we're going to be back with you tomorrow. I'll give you my full prediction, and we're going to go from there. But again, basketball, football are both in high effect right now. Appreciate you all. Again, you have a great Thursday. You've been listening to the Locked On Wildcats podcast. lots of good stuff going on. Again, we will be back with you tomorrow. Happy Thursday, and have a safe rest